And his theory is that intelligence or knowledge can be acquired in multiple formats. Some of us are really good verbal learners. We like to hear stories. And some of us are visual learners, so they'll bring a PowerPoint and show it. And there's other types. Personally, I'm what they call a kinesthetic learner, which means I need to move around while I'm learning something. And so for all the kinesthetic learners in the room, I gave you a shot there to mix up your learning styles. And so that's one tip I offer you. Get to know Howard Gardner and multiple intelligences. I think it'll serve you well as you understand how people acquire knowledge and how you best acquire knowledge. The second reason why I also did that, so it wasn't just for selfish reasons that I didn't want you to fall asleep during my 20 minutes. But I also believe, like our speaker, Ms. Valisteva said this morning, that it takes courage to do this kind of work. And there's no greater courage than standing up on your own 2 feet and declaring to people that you might not know that well, this is what could be better. It takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of passion to say that out loud. Like the old story of Aladdin, which I think became a Disney movie, but I knew it better as a story. There's that magic lamp that you rub, and then the big blue genie comes out and grants your wish, right? Well, that's what you just did. Well, you didn't rub anybody, because it's not that kind of show, but my point is, you put it out there, this is my wish, this could be better. And that really is the heart of any entrepreneurial venture. This could be better. We've got to solve this problem. And so my talk for the next 15 or so minutes is about social entrepreneurship. And what you'll discover is there's not a lot of difference of social entrepreneurship than what was being already talked about this morning. Because to be any kind of entrepreneur, it takes courage, it takes passion, and like Christo said, it takes a great idea. And that's where it starts with. It could be better with. Nobody at the table talked about, well, if I had $1 million, then I create this cool business that made things better. Nobody started there. People started with, you know what would be better? This. And depending on how you felt about that idea, you probably engaged your table and modeled your alpha tendencies to, this is what could be better. Or maybe if you weren't that passionate about it, you kind of just said, well, you know, it'd be great. You're helping people and stuff. People weren't hungry. Right? There's a difference. Right? Who do you want to work with, right? Christo's point is you probably want to work with this person because you know they've got an idea, there's something there. So when we talk about social entrepreneurship, I think the key nuance, the key difference is that whatever you want to do to apply these entrepreneurial skills, these business skills, is that you're addressing a social problem, or as we say, creating social capital, right? Capital can be money, but they're defining, Howard Putnam, a professor at Harvard, created a book called Bowling Alone, where he talks about the creation of social capital. And bowling is, let me just be clear, bowling, maybe you have it here, but where I'm from in the Midwest of the United States, where there's a lot of beer being drunk and you have to be indoors because it's snowy. So maybe it's like here. Bowling is where you get a ball and it's a sport. You roll it down, you hit a bunch of sticks, pins, whatever, right? Bowling. So the thing is, he found in his studies that more and more people were bowling by themselves as opposed to bowling in competitive leagues and on teams. And what he determined from that small story was that people were actually becoming more enclosed and isolated. And as a result, they were reporting larger problems like loneliness, like lack of trust of their neighbors. And these things translated into things like higher crime, higher hope, and things were going to get better. And then when it gets to that place, that becomes all of our problems. Because we all think that there's more crime, we all think that things can't change, then those results become real, right? So Howard Putnam's thing, he said, how do we create more social capital? And his concept was social capital is relationships. It's belief that things can get better. It's quality of life. Those things might be if not more important, just as important as the money we generate as a society. So this became one of the tenets of social entrepreneurship. What kind of business are you creating that creates a better quality of life? And so when I talk about why social entrepreneurship and why they might be having me talk to you about this, it's because you guys are on the start of creating businesses. In this room, we could have the next Google, or the next Facebook, or the next Coca-Cola. It could be happening in this room. I hope it happens in this room, because then I will call you 10 years from now. Right. Say, hey, right? Remember me, the guy who told you about you? Yeah. Anyway, right? And so I want to catch you now in thinking social entrepreneurship believes you can do good for the planet, or for your country, or for your neighborhood, but you can also do well for yourself. And that's what social entrepreneurship is about. It's a style. It is a way. It's a method. And so again, social entrepreneurship addresses a social problem or tries to make that wish come true. You know what could be better? That's what social entrepreneurship addresses. And then you use business practices or business philosophies and disciplines to execute that. Okay? And so there's a lot of, in history, when you look on the, you do research on this, they sort of date back to, well, 1980 is when social entrepreneurship started to happen. But history has been giving us tons of social entrepreneurs. Florence Nightingale, a British nurse, noticed during the war that the quality of nursing wasn't good. So she decided to create a method and network of improving the knowledge of nursing and accreditation of nursing. And that pretty much became the new way of nursing that we know today. Right? And that was just one, started with her idea saying, yeah, this could be better. People can get healthier. Mohammed Yunus just got the Nobel Prize a couple of years ago, based in Bangladesh. He imagined, you know what could be better? In Bangladesh, if local residents could get better access to capital. How could we do that better? And so he came up, his company came up with a microfinancing system, right? Which pretty much redistributed the way that loans were given and allowed loans to reach people to create small businesses and in turn build capacity in Bangladesh. Just got a Nobel Prize for a simple idea. You know what would be better? If my neighbor got access to $1,000, €1,000 to just start their business. Wouldn't that be great if that happened? Wouldn't that be great? Led to a boom in finance called the microfinance movement, right? Which allows capital to smaller businesses and places far off. And it can be, and those are big ideas. You're like, Mac, I don't want to win the Nobel Prize, man. I just want to party and have fun. So, right? So I can share you with this idea. I met two students from the University of Texas in Austin, Texas. Two young women, I can't remember their names, I just met them at a conference and they gave me their card because they're good networkers. And they said their company was called All Good. There was a social entrepreneurship. And what they did was they sold grilled cheese sandwiches on their campus after hours after parties. And they donated the profits to food shelters locally. And I was like, what a brilliant idea, right? Because who's hungry than young adults after imbibing some celebratory drink or taking in some other celebratory substances? And thinking, well, they could just go to a restaurant and get a grilled cheese, but, hey, I know you. Oh, that's going to help out them. Yeah, I'll get a cheese sandwich, sure. Right? They said, wouldn't it be better if our local food banks could get more support from us students? And they found a way to move that, creating a social benefit. And again, the thing is, a social entrepreneurship, it could be about generating profit for yourself, or it could be about sustainability. And they're about sustainability, meaning everything they raise, once they start making profit, then they give it to the thing. So that's their way. So again, it could be as simple. You don't have to be Florence Nightingale. You could be those two college students who are just making grilled cheese sandwiches, for their students, and trying to still improve the quality of life in their town based off that. And so I want to make a pitch. Why social entrepreneurship again? What's really exciting is that it's happening a lot more now. because there are more resources for it now. And I'm making a pitch to you all in the room because young folks are really good at social entrepreneurship. And this is why you all are really good at social entrepreneurship. First of all, you have new ideas. You're not necessarily, as the previous speaker Risto had said, you're not tied to the old way of doing things. You're coming and looking at things with new eyes and new possibilities. You're not invested or tied into the way things are. In fact, you're more interested in shaking things up. So again, social entrepreneurship is a great fit in that way, because what social entrepreneurship is looking to do is to change the system as it is, right? So that makes it ideal for young people to come in. The other reason why it's ideal for young folks, again, your generation, or younger folks, is because you're also more networked than previous generations. The previous speaker, Risto, had just mentioned this. This is why you start businesses in school or in university. Because where else are you going to have a critical mass of people around you that you have connections with to start an enterprise? And you could also start an enterprise on a small budget, and then you could scale up if necessary. There's a reason why Mark Zuckerberg started in college, because he knew, wouldn't it be great if there was a place that we could check out all the hot-looking girls on campus and talk about them? Now, that's not a really good social outcome, obviously, but you can see it started very simple. It's a very simple idea. And the fact was he was based in an area where there was a big market, other students, especially in the Northeast, other Ivy League schools. So again, it goes back to why it's really appealing. You are already in a network, not only physically in the school that you're based in, but you're also more virtually networked than any generation before, right? You have other connections to other connections. And so again, that's your benefit as a young person coming into this, is because you have facility with technology more than previous generations. You're younger and you're easier to adapt to new technologies, right? You're the ones who made Facebook work. You're the ones who made Twitter profitable. You're going to make the next whatever thing that wastes our time profitable, all these things, right? It's here, in this room. So again, this makes it ideal for you to be this ideal case for entrepreneurship. And here's another reason why I think social entrepreneurship might be a neat option for you all. Somebody asked a question. Well, man, how do we get started? It's really hard. And again, Risto answered this. I hate that Risto did my presentation for me, but whatever, that's cool. There's a lot more foundations and resources support for young people to try social entrepreneurship. Organizations like Echoing Green in the United States, the Skoll Foundation, the Ashoka Changemakers, right? The Omidyar Network. These are now networks that when Risto and I were coming up, we didn't have access to the internet, but now they can find you when you pitch to them, this is my idea, right? And so there are resources out there, and again, there might be resources locally here in Bulgaria, or maybe if we hit up the finance minister, because you guys networked, right? You got his card, right? To put a bug in his ear saying, what is the country going to do to keep talent local? What can they do to support us creating social entrepreneurship? So maybe there's possibility there, right? So I think as a young person right now, social entrepreneurship is a great opportunity to get in there and try to do good. And again, I'm going to pitch one more thing. Why social entrepreneurship is compelling is because it's the way of the future. So at our level, when I say our level, right, because I had my own business for a while, a consultancy called Massive Creativity. And the mission of Massive was to cultivate spaces and experiences that transform our society into joyful and just and enlightened place. That was our mission, my mission. And then I would subcontract the friends. And so that meant I would organize conferences. That meant I would do trainings for staff. I keynoted places like this. That also meant that I created a theater ensemble that performed improvisational theater. So having a mission like that and having things I was passionate about was exciting. And so I know what it's like to be a small business owner. I agree, it's stressful, it's hard, but it's also exciting. But the thing about it is like, well, Matt, what about Coca-Cola? What about Walmart? What about Google? What about these big companies? They're not being are they being social entrepreneurs? And the truth is, they are. They're starting to be social entrepreneurs. In this way, when companies like Walmart started, they were about selling stuff to you and you would buy it. Yay. Win-win, right? Walmart wins because they sold stuff. You win because you've got that DVD player for $20. But now Walmart's discovering that they can't sustain themselves just by selling stuff. So they're actually undergoing a process called creating shared value. That's a technical term. Get to know it. CSV, creating shared value. Harvard Business Report just printed an article about this, examining how Walmart is looking at its own practices. They're doing three things. They're trying to figure out how to create a new product and market that creates a better outcome for its customers. They're also looking at redefining how they produce things so it's more sustainable. And then finally, what they're doing is they're looking at their supply chains all over the world and figuring out how can they build capacity at the local level. So that what they call that is building local clusters. So it isn't just feeding back to the center and feeding the center. Walmart's discovering if we're all networked out, it's in our best benefit that our customers are healthy, that they're making money so they can buy their stuff. So that's a different shift. And some people might say, wow, that's a social output. Walmart is using its engine of retail to trying to create a better life for its residents. And that's, again, that's not going to happen overnight. They're a big outfit. They're big. But that's starting now. They started by doing things by reducing their consumption in their offices. So they've reduced paper to the point that they've cut their paper use 20% over the last 5 years. Think about a large international corporation cutting its paper. That's a lot of trees they're saving. And then they've also realized that's a lot of money they're saving because they don't have to buy paper nobody reads. So, I guess what I'm putting out there is by the time, the possibility is that with big business, for profit, when you guys are ready to enter it at the manager level or if you decide to work for a big company, a lot of the bigger companies are starting to move in this direction already of how can we be socially responsible and create a better outcome for our clients. And again, they're not necessarily creating a better outcome for their clients because, oh, it makes us all warm and fuzzy inside. They realize that it's in business's best interest to be better aligned with the better outcomes for society. And that's they're making those choices, hard choices. So again, to review, I think social entrepreneurship could be a great way for you all, one, to make that wish come true. What could be better? For you to practice, because at this time in your life, you got access to people and technology and resources that allow you to practice being a business person and being an entrepreneur. And the reality is, our hope is that in the future, for our world to be sustainable, a lot of our big corporations are trying to figure out how to be less about making a dollar and about how to create more social capital so the world can function. Because what good is Walmart if there aren't people to buy their goods? A lot of corporations are discovering, every corporation that's putting money up on this project realizes that for them to function, they need you all to be really good at what you do. And so these corporations are trying to figure out how do we build better education in Bulgaria? How do we build better faith in Bulgaria? So again, these are thinking this way. If you can already come in, if you have a desire to work in that industry, if you can already come in with a socially responsible mindset, you're already going to position yourself for the next wave. And so I hope that, I don't think I'm telling you anything that's crazy different. At the heart of it, social entrepreneurship still requires discipline. It still requires the ability for you to prove what you're doing, right? Because at one level, a business stays open if it sells its product. A social entrepreneurship stays open if it proves that it's doing what it's supposed to do. And let me just share one final story. One social entrepreneurship. Have anybody heard of Charity Water? Anybody heard of that company? Yeah, one. Yeah, okay, right on. But what Charity Water does, their social entrepreneurship is they create accessible wells and water drinking in Africa. And the way they've done this is they were the first company on YouTube, featured by YouTube. YouTube decided to allow non-governmental, non-profit organizations to show videos and allow those videos to be linked to donating. Before you couldn't do that. Like, click on the video and give $10 for this cause, $10 for this cause, right? So Charity Water was the first. So what Charity Water did was that they were transparent in showing how their work, by showing the videos, how your money leads to creating more accessible drinking, better clean drinking for people in Africa. And as a result of that, people appreciated the transparency, they saw what their money was doing, and they saw the effectiveness of what it was doing. They generated a huge amount of money on their first drive. It was like 6 figures in 48 hours. And again, it was kind of like, well, my man, he was the only one who heard of charity water. If I had a room in the United States, how many people heard of charity water? It's still the only one person. Yet they were able to communicate their wish to the world. I wish people in Africa had better access to drinking water. And they showed how they do it. And so charity water has been kind of successful for a while. And they said, this happened 3 months ago, we're going to do a live drill. So we're going to show on video in real time the well that you all built with your money. And so they publicized it. They had the camera on the well, and everybody logged in. They had like hundreds of thousands of people watching this video in real time. And then they go, now it's going to start. And so the well started going, and all of a sudden it stopped. And then everyone was like looking at the well, then looking at the camera, then looking at the well. And then like the camera went out for a minute, the camera went back on, well's not going. And then after about 5 minutes, the head of Charity Water is there in real time. He looks at the camera and he goes, you know what? I hate to say this, but it's not working. Right? We tried, and you saw us try, and we're sorry. And we're going to commit to making sure that we're going to, just like the other wells you built, we're going to try again. And he was, sad and shocked. I'm sure there was a possibility it would work, but again, he was visibly disappointed because he knew that hundreds of thousands of people from around the world wanted to see that well get built. And what happened as a result was that they raised 3 times as much money in the next 48 hours because people were like saying, try again. It's okay, mistakes happen. And the CEO was surprised. He thought it was going to be an embarrassment. But instead, what he saw was that people knew how hard the job was they're going to do. They appreciated it, and they knew that, hey, if it takes more money to do it, we'll do it. And I guess I shared that story with you kind of like, again, what our previous speakers talked about. Being a successful entrepreneur isn't about winning and having the most amount of money and succeeding all the time. Even in social entrepreneurship, it's being clear and sharing when you fail how you're going to bounce back. And I guess I share that with you. Don't let that discourage you from the possibility of making things happen. Show that when you fail, but if your wish is that impressive enough, people will want to support you. Because they understand, if this thing was easy, we probably would have done it already. So I want to close and turn it over to our MC. I just want to thank you for being in this room, because you could be anywhere. You could be sleeping in class right now. You might be sleeping right now. Who knows? But I want to appreciate the fact that you're present here and you're engaged and invested really bodes well. And it's a real privilege, honor for me to be able to fly 18 hours to be with this here. I look forward to seeing you in 10 years to hit you up for some support when you do create the next Bulgarian Google. I look forward to that. Just write the name Mac Antigua on the check. Started now. Anyway, so I want to turn it over to my man. Thanks so much.